All right, let's take a look at part 2 here. And I'm gonna have to break these videos into pieces because YouTube only limits me to a certain amount of time. All right, again, you can pause the video and just try it and then see if you got it correct, or you can just follow along if you find that easier. Okay, first thing here is to figure out what I'm supposed to do. I have to have a strategy. What do I do? So I have to think, okay, what's most important here? Well, I have a couple things going on. I've got a power to power, which is brackets and exponents, and then I've got multiplication. So I have to think back to BEDMAS and I have to think which is the most important. Well, obviously the brackets and the exponents are, so that means I can't do the multiplying first. So now I know that I have to take a look at the first bracket first before I do anything. The other thing I got to do is what I know now is I should always put ones on things that don't have ones, and now I can do the question. So I'm going to apply this 3 to everything in the brackets. I'm going to get 4 to the power of 3, c to the power of 6, and d to the power of 9. All right, now I can multiply it to c to the power of 2 and d to the power of 1. And as a good strategy is pair your things up and show your work. Now, remember, in this assessments that I'm doing online, I'm interested in your work. Like, I don't care about the answer. Like, your answer is part of the question, but the majority of your marks come from your work and your thinking. So you need to show your work. Plus, it's really easy to make mistakes, especially in division, if you don't do this step. And here's what you do. The 4 to the 3 doesn't have a friend to pair with, so I'm just going to leave it by itself. But the c is going to be multiplying, so I know from the bottom that multiplying powers means adding exponents. So I'm going to show that. I'm going to add their exponents. Same with the d. And now if I had negative numbers here, now I don't screw the question up. And so now I put it together and I have my solution and I can clean it up. 4 to the power 3 is 64, c to the 9, and d to the 10. And I'm done. And that's really all there is to that question. So it's a pretty easy question to solve if you use a strategy. And that is try to do the same thing every time once you have a plan that works. Okay, this one looks complicated. What do? Well, there's 2 things you could do. You could divide and get a whole bunch of negative exponents, and divide and get a whole bunch of negative exponents, and then do a whole bunch of extra work and be there for all day. Or you could just do something else. The other thing you could do is, why not just multiply all the tops and multiply all the bottoms and then do division? Okay, let's do that. So again, pause it if you want to try this yourself, or follow along and try what I'm showing you here. Okay, so when I go to do this one, I'm going to pair off the numbers. 2 times 3 is 6. So right away I can just write 6. But I'm going to write ones on things that don't have exponents, and I'm going to show my work. So A1 plus A3, B2 plus B1. And on the bottom, I'm going to do the same thing. 5 times 6 is 30. Put a 1 on the A. Now the A doesn't have a friend, so I'm just going to leave it right there. The B's are adding together, so I get 5 and 2. And I just kept it in alphabetical order, which is why I put the A first, but it doesn't really matter, but really that's what we should do because it's easier to mark and see. All right, next thing is clean it up. It's too messy. 6 and 30. Who cares about the numbers? We'll worry about that later. The variables, or the letters, are going to be A4, B3, A1, B7. Okay, final thing is divide. Worry about the things you can divide. Now, I can't do 6 into 30. It's not 5. If you have 6 pizzas divided by 30 people, it's not 5. So I'm going to be left with a fraction. So you know what? I'm not going to worry about that until the end. Let's just worry about the letters. So I've got A and I got B. Okay, let's do the B or the A's first. So I'm going to write 6 over 30. Remember, when you divide, what are we doing? We are subtracting. Okay, so I'm going to show my work. I'm going to go write it up top and go a to the 4. And you'll see why this is so important. When we get to negative exponents, you're going to thank me. So you can go a to the 4 minus 1. Done. B to the 3 minus 7. Done. And you notice when I divide and I have a fraction, I always write it up top. Every time. Then you clean it up. So 6 and 30. A to the 3, B to the negative 4. Now, obviously, the B is not where it should be, because it should be on the bottom because it's a negative exponent. So I'm just going to move it there, and I get 6 over 30, and then I get a to the 3, b to the 4. Now everything is happy. And then I can reduce this fraction, so the fraction part can be reduced because I can divide a 6 out of both of them. So 6 divided by 6 is 1, a3, and then 5, b4. Or you could just write it as a3, 5b4. Either one's right. Okay, so that's basic exponents. Let's take a look at, let's take a look at negative exponents next. I'm going to skip this part and we're going to go right to negative exponents. What do you do here? There's different ways to do this. I'm going to show you the way that I find works the best. Okay, the way that I find works the best is to not move any negative exponents until the end. So strategy we know is put ones in things, power to power, so we're multiplying the exponents. So I'm going to get 2 to the negative 3, a to the negative 3, b to the negative 3. Okay. The final thing in negative exponent questions is if they're negative, it means they're on the wrong side of a fraction. Now, there's no fraction here, but I can just write it into a fraction, which is why I did that. And it means that all of them are on the wrong side. So all of them were supposed to be down in the bottom. So it's simple as just fixing it and moving it. And now they're all happy. But there's nothing here. So if that's ever the case, you just write a 1. It's not 0. You're going to write a 1 there, and it's going to be 1 over all of those things. And then now I can clean it up. So I get 1, and this is not 6. This is 2 times 2 times 2, so it's 8, a3, b3, and I'm finished. Okay, using that idea and everything else we've done so far is let's solve the next one using the strategy. Don't worry about negative exponents and moving them until the end. There's no multiplying here. There's no power to power. The only thing you're doing is division. Okay, so then just do what you know. Well, the 4 doesn't divide into 8 because it's not 2. 4 pizzas divided by 8 people is not 2. So I'm going to leave the 4 and the 8 until the end. Don't worry about the letters. So remember, we're dividing. So you always write your answers up top. Now here is why you need to show your work. If I write a to the 2, I'm taking the 2 and I'm subtracting it from negative 4. So 2 subtracting negative 4. So if I think about it like that, oh, it's a little bit more complicated now with negative numbers. So I have to show my work. B to the negative 2, subtract 5. Now, if you ever get a situation where what I call double signs, like this is a double sign, right? You can get rid of your double signs and make the question easier. If you have 2 addition signs in a row, it's really just addition. If you have 2 negative signs in a row, it's really just addition. If you have a mix of the 2, it's always subtraction. So that's another little strategy you can use to make questions easier. So really this question is just 4 and 8, and this becomes a to the 2 plus 4, and the next one is just b to the negative 2 minus 5. That one didn't change because there's no double sign. Okay, clean it up. I get a to the 6, b to the negative 7. It means that my 7 is in the wrong spot, so it should be on the bottom. So I get 4a6, b7, and then I can reduce, my 8. And I can reduce the numbers. 4 over 8 can divide by 4 by both. So 4 divided by 4 is 1a6, and then 8 divided by 4 is 2b7. And you don't need the 1 there, but if you want to put it there, there's nothing wrong. So that's the best strategy to do it, because then that way it's organized, it's clean, you don't make any mistakes, and you can show all of your thinking, which is what I'm marking. So I would appreciate if you do it this way, because it allows me to really mark your understanding of negative exponents.